Let me tell you something that took me a long time to learn the hard way. A used luxury car with a clean Carfax, a shiny showroom floor, and a no-haggle price tag is not the same thing as a good deal. Not even close. And CarMax has built an entire billion-dollar business on the fact that most buyers don't know the difference. So before you walk into one of their lots, before you fall in love with that E-Class or that Q5 or that 5 Series sitting under the lights looking like it just rolled off a showboat, you need to hear this first. Because what happens after you drive off that lot is where the real story begins. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to walk you through everything CarMax doesn't tell you when you're buying a used luxury car. The real maintenance costs, the hidden reliability traps, who should actually consider buying from them, and who absolutely should not. Stay with me on this one. Look, I get why people love CarMax. No dealership pressure, no back and forth with a finance guy, a 30-day return window, and they've done all the reconditioning work up front. For a first-time buyer or someone who just hates the traditional dealership experience, it feels like a breath of fresh air. And honestly, for a regular used Toyota or Honda, CarMax is probably fine. Those cars are simple, parts are cheap, and any mechanic in America can work on them. But here's where the whole thing starts to fall apart. When people bring that same level of trust to a used luxury car from CarMax, they're playing a completely different game without knowing the new rules. The thing is, CarMax prices their luxury inventory based on the market. They pull comps, they look at what similar cars are selling for, and they price accordingly. What they don't price in is what that car is going to cost you 6 months from now. That part is entirely on you to figure out. And most buyers don't figure it out until it's too late. This is where things get expensive. And I mean genuinely, surprisingly expensive, in a way that would change a lot of buying decisions if people knew about it up front. Let's start with something basic. You buy a used BMW 5 Series from CarMax. It's a couple of years old, maybe 40,000 miles on it. Looks great, drives great during the test drive. You sign the paperwork feeling good. Then, at 60,000 miles, which could come pretty fast depending on how much you drive, you're looking at a cooling system service. That's water pump, thermostat, hoses. On a BMW, you're not looking at a $300 job. You're looking at anywhere from $800 to $1,400 at a good independent shop, or close to $2,000 at the dealer. And that's just one item. Now, layer on top of that, BMW uses run-flat tires on a lot of their models. Those tires run about $250 to $350 each, and you've got 4 of them. Brake jobs on a 5 Series are running $400 to $700 per axle. If it's got air suspension, which some of them do, a single air strut replacement is $600 to $900. If 2 go, and they often go in pairs because they're the same age, you're suddenly writing a $1,500 check you weren't expecting. That's not a horror story. That's Tuesday on a used luxury car. Mercedes-Benz is a similar story. The E-Class and the C-Class are beautiful machines, but the airmatic suspension on certain trim levels is notorious. When it goes, and eventually it will go, you're looking at $1,200 to $2,500, depending on how many components need replacing. The 7-speed automatic transmission on older CDI diesels and some V6 models has its share of complaints too. And spark plugs on a V6 Mercedes? That's not the $40 job you'd pay on a Toyota. Budget closer to $300 to $500 in labor alone because of how buried they are in the engine bay. If I were spending my own money, this is the part I would spend the most time researching before I ever stepped foot on a CarMax lot. Here's what most buyers don't realize about CarMax's reconditioning process. They do a legitimate inspection. I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're selling you cars with bald tires and cracked windshields. They're not. Their 125-point inspection covers the basics: brakes, tires, fluid levels, exterior damage, and some mechanical checks under the hood. But there's a big difference between passing an inspection and being in great shape for the next 3 years. Their inspection is not going to catch early-stage oil leaks that haven't fully shown up yet. It's not going to flag a cooling system that's 3 years old and running on borrowed time. It's not going to tell you that the previous owner ignored every service interval and ran the car 5,000 miles past every oil change. A CarMax inspection tells you the car is operational today. It does not tell you what's coming.
The other thing CarMax won't tell you is the car's full service history. They give you a Carfax. That's it. Carfax tells you about reported accidents and title changes. It doesn't tell you the car was never serviced on time, or that the previous owner took it to a cheap quick lube place that put the wrong oil in it for 30,000 miles. Service history gaps on a luxury car are a massive red flag, and CarMax doesn't filter for that.
Let's get into some specifics, because not all luxury cars are created equal when it comes to used reliability. Audi is a beautiful brand. The build quality, the interiors, the driving dynamics, all genuinely excellent. But used Audi ownership has a reputation for a reason. The 2.0T engine, which powers most of the A4, A5, Q5 lineup, had well-documented oil consumption issues on certain model years. The DSG dual-clutch transmission is smooth when it's happy, but when it starts acting up, you're looking at a significant repair. Carbon buildup on direct injection engines is a real maintenance item, and the timing chains on older 3.0T V6 models have been a problem. A used Q5 from CarMax might look like a steal at $28,000, but factor in a $2,000 timing chain job that's been deferred, and suddenly the math looks different.
Land Rover is another one. I know they look incredible. I know the interior of a used Range Rover Sport feels like a hotel lobby. But the reliability track record on these vehicles is genuinely challenging. Air suspension failures are almost a given at higher mileage. Electrical gremlins are common. Transfer case issues, transmission problems on certain years, oil leaks from various places. I'm not saying don't ever buy one, but if you are buying a used Range Rover from CarMax and you're not setting aside $3,000 in a dedicated maintenance fund from day one, you're not being realistic about what ownership looks like. On the other end, if you're looking at a used Lexus at CarMax, that's a genuinely different conversation. The ES, the RX, the IS, these are luxury cars built on Toyota reliability bones. Maintenance is reasonable. Parts are widely available. You don't need a specialist. A used Lexus RX from CarMax at reasonable mileage is probably the closest thing to a worry-free luxury purchase you're gonna find.
Acura falls into a similar category. The TLX, the MDX, these are Honda engines with luxury trimmings. Solid, reliable, relatively affordable to maintain. So the question isn't just, is this a good deal at CarMax? The question is which badge is on the hood, what model year it is, how many miles are on it, and whether you've researched the specific known issues for that car. Those answers change everything.
Almost certainly, when you're buying from CarMax, they're gonna offer you their MaxCare extended warranty. And this is worth talking about because a lot of buyers see it as the safety net that makes the whole purchase feel safer. MaxCare is a real product. It covers a legitimate range of mechanical and electrical components. And on a higher mileage luxury car, having some form of extended coverage is not a crazy idea. But here's the thing. Read the fine print. Understand what's excluded. Wear items are excluded. Maintenance is excluded. Pre-existing conditions, meaning things that were already wrong when you bought it, can get denied if the shop determines it was a pre-existing issue. Suspension components are sometimes excluded or have specific conditions. And you're gonna be steered toward CarMax's network of repair shops, which may or may not be specialists in your specific brand.
If your BMW needs a software update, a specialized calibration, or a repair that requires dealer-level diagnostic equipment, a generic repair shop covered by MaxCare may not be the best place for that job. The price of MaxCare varies, but you're typically looking at $1,500 to $3,500, depending on the term and the vehicle. That money might be better sitting in a dedicated savings account that you control. Or it might be worth every penny, depending on the car and your risk tolerance. My point is, don't let them sell it to you as a reflex. Think it through.
Now here's where I want to give CarMax some genuine credit, because there are buyers for whom this makes a lot of sense.
If you're buying a certified pre-owned adjacent vehicle in the 1 to 3-year-old range, low mileage, still potentially under some factory coverage, and you've done your research on that specific model's reliability, CarMax can be a solid option. You get a clean buying experience, a return window, and a legitimate reconditioning standard. If you're buying a used Lexus, Acura, or Genesis, and you've done your homework on the service history, CarMax is a reasonable place to do it. The cars are inherently reliable. The brand spread on maintenance costs isn't dramatic, and you're unlikely to get ambushed by a 5-figure repair. If you genuinely despise haggling and the traditional dealership experience, and you're willing to pay a modest premium for peace of mind, CarMax delivers on that. Their pricing is fair, if not always the lowest. You're paying for convenience and consistency. If that's worth it to you, own that decision. Comment below if you'd actually buy a used luxury car from CarMax. I'm curious where people land on this one, because I know opinions are split.
On the other hand, if you're looking at a high-mileage German luxury car, especially anything over 80,000 miles from brands like BMW, Mercedes, Audi, or Volkswagen's higher-end lineup, and you're working with a tight monthly budget, CarMax is not where I'd be shopping. The gap between what the car costs on paper and what the car costs to own is widest at that mileage range on those brands. The warranty coverage is usually gone. The components that are expensive to fix are exactly the ones that are now reaching the end of their service life. And you've paid a premium price for a car that's about to demand premium maintenance on your dime. If you're a first-time luxury car buyer, which is honestly where a lot of CarMax shoppers find themselves, and you don't have a trusted mechanic who knows these brands, and you don't have $3,000 to $5,000 sitting in reserve for unexpected repairs, you may want to reconsider the whole category. Not CarMax specifically, the category. Because no matter where you buy it, a high-mileage German luxury car requires a different financial cushion than a high-mileage Japanese luxury car. That's just the reality. Here's what most buyers don't realize going in. The sticker price is the beginning of the conversation, not the end of it. If you've heard everything I've said and you're still going to CarMax, which is totally valid, here's how to do it right. First, narrow your list before you go. Don't walk in and fall in love with whatever catches your eye. Know which models have strong used reliability records. Have that list before you walk through the door. Second, get the VIN before you visit. CarMax will give you it. Run it through Carfax, yes, but also take that VIN and look up the specific model year on owner forums. iDrive forums, Beamer Post, Audi World, MB World. These communities will tell you everything about the known issues on that specific year and engine. 10 minutes of forum reading can change everything. Third, use the 30-day return window, but use it smart. Get an independent pre-purchase inspection within the first week. Pay for it. It's worth it. That inspector is going to look at things CarMax didn't look at or didn't prioritize, and they're going to give you an honest assessment of what's coming. Fourth, price out the maintenance before you sign, not after. Call an independent shop that specializes in the brand and ask them to quote you a 60,000 mile or 80,000 mile service. Ask what the known issues are on that car. Get a real number in your head so you know what you're actually committing to. And fifth, don't let the no haggle policy stop you from negotiating add-ons. You might not be able to move the price, but you can negotiate on financing, on MaxCare, on accessories. There's room to work there. Would you risk it on a high-mileage luxury car if you found the right deal? Drop that in the comments. I read every one. Look, the used luxury car market right now is genuinely interesting. Prices have softened. There are real deals out there. And CarMax is not a bad place to shop if you go in with your eyes open. But too many buyers are walking onto those lots with the same mindset they bring to buying a used Camry. And then 6 months later, they're underwater on repairs, frustrated, and wondering what happened. What happened is they didn't do the homework. Now you have. Go find a good one. If this helped you, hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach people who need to hear this stuff before they make a $30,000 mistake. And if you want to know which specific used luxury cars I'd actually recommend right now, that video is coming next. I'll break down the exact models, the mileage sweet spots, and where to find them for the best value. You're not going to want to miss that one. Subscribe so you catch it. See you there.